All right, buckle up, everybody. We're going deep today, like really deep.
That's fun. I'm ready.
Talking about Christianity and AI.
Okay. Yeah. That's a big one.
It is. Our listener sent in this article. It's actually in Chinese.
Oh, wow.
It's called Silicon Valley Shinar.
Okay.
And it's all about how Christian ethics can be applied to the world of AI and how those two things can kind of interact and what that means for the future.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to kind of unpack some of the ideas and talk about what it means, for us today. Even if you're not a Christian yourself, I think there's some really interesting ideas in this article that are going to make you think.
I agree.
So the article starts out, it uses a pretty surprising analogy, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah. It talks about the Tower of Babel.
The Tower of Babel.
From the Bible.
Wow. What a interesting way to start talking about AI.
I know, right? And it basically connects that story, like the story of the Tower of Babel, to some of the potential pitfalls of AI development.
I see.
It identifies three kind of like sins of the tower builders.
Sins. Okay.
That it sees as relevant to the AI world today.
I'm curious. What are the three sins?
So the first one is language dominance.
Language dominance. Okay.
The second one is replacing God's creation with mass production.
Okay.
And the third one is self-glory.
All right. So how do these sins connect to AI?
Well, take language dominance, for example. The article talks about how, a lot of the data that's used to train AI is primarily in English.
Right, yeah.
Which kind of creates a situation where other languages, other cultures kind of get left behind.
It's true. I've noticed that a lot of the AI tools I use are English-centric.
Right. So it's like we're building this kind of digital Tower of Babel where not everybody can participate.
That makes sense. And it makes you wonder, what are we missing out on by excluding those other voices and perspectives?
Exactly. And the article even mentions a project called the Babel Project that's trying to counteract this by like introducing ancient languages into AI.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like Hebrew and Akkadian.
That's fascinating. So they're trying to broaden the AI's linguistic horizons, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the second sin, replacing God's creation with mass production? How does that apply to AI?
Well, the article draws a parallel between the tower builders using like mass-produced bricks instead of unique natural stones.
Okay.
And our modern obsession with like constantly making AI models bigger and bigger.
Like with more and more parameters.
Exactly. Like, GPT-3, GPT-4.
Yeah.
And now everybody's talking about GPT-5, and it's all about like, how many trillions of parameters can we cram into this thing?
Right. It's like a never-ending arms race for AI power.
And the article is kind of saying like, hold on a second. Are we losing sight of something important here? Like the uniqueness and the individual kind of beauty of God's creation.
I see. So it's about valuing quality and diversity over just sheer size and scale.
Yeah. And the article uses this interesting example about a seminary.
A seminary.
Yeah, they used an AI to summarize the book of Job.
Okay.
And the AI focused on the first couple of chapters, but it completely skipped over God's response at the end.
Oh, wow. So it missed the entire point of the story.
Like literally the most important part.
Yeah.
Because it was so focused on just processing all the data in front of it.
I see. So it's like the AI was so busy building its tower of data that it missed the spiritual forest for the trees.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And what about that third sin, self-glory? I have a feeling this is where things get a little Silicon Valley-ish.
You got it. We're talking about the tech messiah complex.
Ah, yes. The idea that technology, especially AI, will solve all our problems and usher in a new era of utopia.
Exactly.
Huh.
And the article contrasts that kind of mentality with a more humble approach.
Which would be?
One that's rooted in Christian values. So it highlights this Christian group that designed an AI system.
Okay.
And it's grounded in the idea that I belong to him.
I belong to him. That's interesting. So instead of trying to become like God through technology, this AI is acknowledging our dependence on a higher power.
Right. It's a completely different starting point. And it makes you wonder, what would it look like to create AI systems that actually reflect those values,
It's a question worth exploring. And it's clear from this article that Christians are grappling with these questions in some really thought-provoking ways.
Definitely. And the next part of our deep dive, we're going to look at some of the practical steps that the article suggests Christians can take to actively shape the future of AI.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, the sins of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, how they kind of play out in the world of AI.
But this article doesn't just, point fingers. It offers some real ideas.
Yeah.
Like, what can Christians actually do?
Right. It gets really practical, which I appreciated.
So let's start with the developers.
Okay.
The people actually, building these systems.
The ones writing the code, making the algorithms.
Yeah. What kind of guidance does the article offer for them?
Well, one thing that stood out was this idea of a Christian developer's declaration.
Oh, interesting. Like a set of principles.
Yeah, almost like, a Hippocratic oath for AI developers, but grounded in Christian faith.
I see.
And they even suggest actually embedding scripture in the code comments.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So, you open up this complex AI program, and amidst all the, ones and zeros, there's a verse from Psalms.
That's kind of poetic in a way. Weaving faith into the very fabric of technology.
Right. It's like acknowledging that, this technology is not just a neutral tool. It's something that can be infused with values.
Yeah. I like that.
And the article also talks about the importance of evaluating algorithms,
Sure.
not just for how efficient they are,
right,
but for their impact on the most vulnerable people in society.
That makes sense.
It actually uses that, that line from Matthew 25.
Whatever you did for the least of these.
You did for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's applying that principle to AI development.
It's like saying, before you unleash this algorithm on the world, think about how it's going to affect the poor, the marginalized, the people who might not have a voice.
Yeah.
It's a powerful standard to hold ourselves to.
Okay, and then this one kind of surprised me. The article talks about ethical kill switches.
Oh, yeah, kill switches.
That sounds kind of intense. Are we talking about, a robot uprising situation?
No, not quite. It's more about having a way to shut down an AI system.
Okay.
If it starts doing something harmful. Like imagine an AI that's designed to, help with customer service.
Right.
But then it starts spewing hate speech or, discriminating against certain groups of people.
Oh, I see.
You need a way to stop it, like a safeguard.
So it's more about responsible oversight than, killer robots. Exactly. It's about recognizing that even the most well-intentioned technology can have unintended consequences. And we need to be prepared to intervene if things go wrong.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about developers. What about churches?
Ah, yes. The church's role in all of this.
What can they do to help their congregations navigate this AI world?
Well, the article has this really cool idea about forming AI Stephen teams.
AI Stephen teams.
Stephen, the first Christian martyr.
Oh, yeah.
Who was known for his wisdom and understanding.
Right.
And these teams would be made up of theologians and data scientists.
Interesting. So bringing together faith and technology expertise.
Exactly. And they would study AI, wrestle with the ethical questions, and try to help their churches figure out how to engage with it in a way that's faithful.
Yeah, because it's a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely. And the article also talks about creating digital discipleship programs.
Yeah. Digital discipleship, on online Bible studies.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But also teaching kids how to, think critically about the information they see online.
Okay.
How to spot algorithmic bias, how to use social media for good.
It was like digital literacy, but with a spiritual dimension.
Exactly. Because it's not enough to just know how to use the technology.
Right.
You have to know how to use it wisely, ethically, in a way that reflects your values.
I like that. Okay, and then this is a really cool point. The article says that churches should be praying for tech workers.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in places like, Silicon Valley, where so much of this innovation is happening.
It's like saying, hey, these people are shaping the future. Let's lift them up in prayer.
Yeah, that's powerful. Okay, so we've talked about developers. We've talked about churches. What about individuals?
Right. What can we do?
In our own lives to engage with AI in a thoughtful way.
Well, the article has a bunch of suggestions. One that I really liked was this idea of counter-recommendation.
Counter-recommendation. What's that?
So, you know how algorithms are constantly feeding us information?
Yeah.
That reinforces our existing beliefs?
Right, like the echo chamber effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Counter-recommendation is about intentionally breaking out of that, actively seeking out viewpoints that are different from your own.
Okay, I see. Like challenging your assumptions.
Yeah, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Because that's how we grow, right?
Exactly. And it's so important these days when, everything's so polarized.
Right. And the article also talks about, being intentional about how we use technology. Like even something as simple as using an AI-powered Bible study app.
Okay.
That can be a spiritual practice. But it also cautions against becoming too reliant on technology.
Right. So finding a balance.
Exactly. Balance is key.
Speaking of balance, the article had this really interesting idea about Elim mode for smart homes.
Oh, yeah. Elim mode.
What was that all about?
So Elim was the place where the Israelites found water in the wilderness, after fleeing Egypt.
Okay.
And the article suggests programming your smart home to switch to Elim mode at a certain time each day.
Like what would that look like?
Well, maybe around dinner time, all the screens would dim, the smart speakers would go quiet, and instead, the home would fill with readings from the Desert Fathers or some other spiritual text.
Like a digital Sabbath.
Exactly. A reminder that technology should serve us, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. So, we've talked about a lot of different things here.
We have lots of ideas, lots of perspectives.
And one thing that really strikes me is this article doesn't shy away from the tough questions.
Right.
It acknowledges the dangers of AI, but also the incredible potential.
It's a nuanced view. It's not just, AI is good or AI is bad.
Right.
It's saying this is a powerful tool and our faith can help us use it wisely.
We've only scratched the surface here, really.
Yeah, we have. There's so much more to explore.
But, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to look at the article's most thought-provoking insights about the future of AI.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so we've talked about the challenges, the practical steps Christians can take, and now it's time to look ahead. What does the future hold? What does this article say about that?
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful lines in the whole piece is this idea that the world alienated by technology is precisely where God hides himself.
Ooh, yeah, that's deep. What do you think that means?
Well, to me, it's like saying that even as technology advances, maybe even makes us feel disconnected, there's still this spiritual dimension. God is still present.
So it's not about rejecting technology or being afraid of it, but looking for God in those unexpected places.
Exactly. Embracing the mystery. Think about some of the stuff we've talked about, like quantum computing, brain-computer interfaces, the metaverse.
Yeah, that stuff still feels a little sci-fi to me.
I know, right? But they're frontiers. They're pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. And for Christians, I think that's exciting.
Okay, but how do you approach something like quantum computing from a Christian perspective? I mean, it's so complex.
Well, the article talks about how IBM's quantum computer broke this encryption code, something that would have been impossible for a regular computer.
Right.
It's a huge achievement, but instead of seeing it as a threat, we can see it as a reminder of the limits of our own understanding and the vastness of God's creation.
I see. Even the most advanced technology we can create it's still finite.
Right. There's always more to discover. And then you have these brain-computer interfaces, like Neuralink, that really blur the lines between humanity and what it means to be made in God's image.
That's where things start to get a little ethically tricky.
Absolutely. And that's why the article highlights that group of Christian engineers who created the Ark of the Covenant Agreement. Remember that?
Yeah, it was like a set of ethical guidelines for neural enhancements.
Right. It's like they're saying, hey, we can explore these possibilities, but we have to do it carefully. We have to remember who we are.
That we belong to God.
Exactly. And then there's the metaverse.
Ah, the metaverse.
It's already causing all sorts of debate about escapism, losing touch with reality. But the article talks about this virtual monastery in the metaverse.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And how it's intentionally designed with this pixelated, unfinished look.
Yeah, like a reminder that it's not real.
Exactly. It's a powerful symbol. Even in these virtual worlds, our ultimate hope is in something beyond.
So it's about using technology wisely, not letting it control us.
Right. And our faith can help us do that. It gives us a framework, a set of values to guide our decisions.
And because ultimately AI itself isn't good or bad.
It's a tool.
And it's up to us to decide how we use it.
And we need to keep talking about this.
Yes.
Keep thinking critically.
Keep wrestling with the tough questions.
Because this conversation is just beginning.
It is.
And the choices we make today are going to shape the future.
And I keep coming back to that line about God hiding himself in the world alienated by technology.
It's a powerful thought. It's a challenge.
It is. It's like an invitation to, look deeper, see beyond the surface.
And remember that God is still present.
Even in the midst of all this change.
Absolutely. So, to our listener out there,
as you continue to explore the world of AI,
we'll leave you with this question.
What would an AI system that reflected your faith look like?
Think about it. What problems would it solve? What kind of world would it help create?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a journey.
It has.